Chapter 13, Gitana, Revelations. Gitana could not believe her ears. Excuse me? What did you just say? Gitana could not believe her ears. Excuse me? What did you just say? We asked you when you were going to tell us you're a dragon. Tulip's cheeks were flushed with outrage. Part-time dragon, Bright qualified. Tulip shot an angry look in his direction. This was not the time to minimize what they had just experienced. Part-time dragon, part-time human. Bright's voice trailed off as he attempted to lighten the mood. What if Gitana got angry, turned into a dragon, and roasted them like marshmallows? Tulip, let's calm down a bit. He looked nervously at Gitana, who, to his horror, suddenly lunged at them both. Bright jumped back, but Gitana already had a hold of his head. To his surprise and relief, she did not look angry. In fact, she looked quite worried. Gitana patted his head all over, slowly, carefully, as if determined to find something out of the ordinary. I don't feel any lumps. Still, you guys clearly have taken hits to your heads. Do either of you have a headache? Tulip and Bright shook their heads. Tulip, who had been rendered motionless by shock, allowed Gitana to feel her head as well. Not finding any bumps on Tulip either, Gitana was miffed. No lumps. Still, I think you guys have sustained head injuries. Gitana studied their eyes, looking for pupil dilation. Moving her index finger in front of Tulip's face, Gitana watched to see if Tulip's eyes followed her finger. Hopefully it's just a little concussion and you'll come back to your senses in a short time. You think we're concussed? Tulip asked in disbelief. Gitana was sympathetic. Possibly. It happens to me all the time. Why don't you guys sit and take a rest? She hated that they were angry with her. Gitana belatedly saw the large pool of shiny, sticky goo they were all standing in was not a place to sit and relax. Did you guys go swimming? Tulip threw her arms up in disbelief. Yes, Gitana, that makes perfect sense. Bright and I both hit our heads at the exact same time, causing damage to the same area of the brain, leading us both to have the same hallucination of you turning into a dragon. And then we went swimming. Gitana was unaffected by Tulip's sarcasm. Well, that would be a big coincidence. Still, stranger things have happened. Tulip just stood there, tapping 3 fingers on her head in counts of 2. Tap, tap, pause, tap, tap, pause. No, Gitana. This time Bright interjected. He could see Tulip was too upset, and her bluntness was making Gitana defensive. We did not hit our heads. His voice was matter-of-fact, but gentle. You turned into a dragon in front of our eyes. Then you saved us. Gitana was truly puzzled. She had hit her head many times and lost her memory, but had never suffered hallucinations. Still, she could imagine no other explanation for seeing things that were not real. I saved you. She searched her more recent memory. A few minutes ago, I was sinking into a huge gummy candy and about to drown in it. I couldn't move even a finger to help myself. How could I have saved all 3 of us? Well, you did, Tulip snapped, and we're not going to pretend we didn't see it. Gitana was speechless. Tulip continued, ignoring the confusion on Gitana's face. Seriously, Gitana, I thought we were friends. We helped you when we found you, and we're supposed to be helping each other now. I guess I can understand that you didn't want to tell us your secret, but to stand here and try to convince us that what we just saw with our own eyes is because of concussions is really unfair. Gitana had no idea what was happening, but she hated that her friends were angry with her. I don't know what to say. I really like you guys and trust you too. It's just, what you're saying is unbelievable. I'm not a dragon, she insisted, wishing they would get a grip on reality. Then she looked down. By the way, what is this goo all over us? It was super sticky. Bright was beginning to see Gitana was sincere and turned to calm Tulip once more. Tulip, I don't think Gitana is lying to us. Look at her. She looks super confused. Then what is she doing if not lying to our faces? Maybe she's... Bright looked at Gitana's face. Maybe she doesn't know. Tulip scoffed. How is that possible? She's the one who turned herself into a dragon. How could she not know? I have no idea, Tulip, but look at her. She looks more confused than we are. Gitana was irritated by this conversation, especially since they were now talking about her as if she were not right there. Could she have changed into a dragon and back to human and lost her memory of it all? Could you guys please stop talking about me as if I'm not here? Gitana protested. Tulip paused and took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. Gitana, do you remember turning into a dragon? Like now? Or ever? No, of course not, since I am a human and not a dragon. Gitana was growing tired of this conversation. Maybe you're both, Bright interjected. No, I'm neither. I mean, I'm just one, a human, Gitana stuttered. Gitana, you still don't remember how you fell into Candiego, right? Tulip was starting to believe Bright might be right. Gitana did not respond. Bright continued. A bunch of people in the village said they saw a dragon, and you still can't remember what happened. I don't think this is your first time turning. I think you turned into a dragon and saved yourself before you landed in Candiego, then lost your memory of the whole episode. You may have even done it before. This is ridiculous. Let's just get going. Gitana turned her back to them as her thoughts raced. How many times had she lost her memory? At least 8 or 9 times in the past 3 years, and she never knew why. She also noticed that her parents, and even Plum, seemed to be keeping a secret from her. But why? Guys, she stopped and turned to face them again. Let's say I believe you. Can you tell me exactly what happened? She took a few steps and splashed more sticky goo all over her pants and into her shoes. Could we also search for some place to clean up while you tell me? Sure. Tulip was calming down. Let's find our way out of this mess. What is this sticky stuff? Gitana asked for the second time. Tulip paused, wondering where to start. She decided to answer Gitana's question first. It's melted gummy mountains. Melted? How? Gitana looked around to see mountains behind them and to the far right and left, but none in front of them. The last time she remembered, there were many mountains still ahead of them. Now the path ahead was clear and totally flat. You melted them, Gitana. You turned into a dragon and started breathing fire. Tulip's voice sounded accusing again. Let's not forget she saved our lives, Tulip, Bright admonished. Gitana, we were going to die. All 3 of us were sucked down into the gummy mountains. I couldn't breathe. Bright subconsciously put his hands around his throat as he recalled the pain of slowly suffocating. But all of a sudden I felt this big jolt like an earthquake, and then everything around us got really warm and the mountains started to melt. Gitana really wanted to check his head again. Tulip stopped and turned to face Gitana squarely, looking her in the eye. It's true, Gitana. I guess you don't remember, but you melted the mountains all around us. You were breathing fire and everything just melted away. You then picked us up and flew us out of the center where we might have drowned in this goo. Instead, you flew us, probably a mile or so, out of the mountains, then landed where we're at now. As soon as we were all safe, you turned human again and passed out. Exactly, Bright nodded, silently begging her to believe them. It's too bad you didn't keep going, though. You could have flown us all the way to Osser. Gitana did not know what to say, what to do. She had returned to walking straight ahead, trying to process what she had just heard. She felt a combination of confusion, anger, denial, and hurt. If this were true, surely her family would have known. Would they have hidden it from her? And if so, why? If she was in the habit of turning into a dragon, her family should have told her. Gitana! Tulip caught up with her. Are you okay? Her voice was kind again. Now you're worried about me, Tulip? A few minutes ago you were accusing me and looking at me like you hated me. I'm sorry, Gitana. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know either. Gitana kept walking, looking straight ahead rather than at Tulip. Can we not talk about this anymore? Let's just get going. We have to get to Asa, remember? Bright ran up from behind. Why don't you just try turning into a dragon and fly us? I don't do that, Gitana yelled furiously, walking faster and faster. Or even if I do, I don't know how. She stopped and turned to face them. Please don't ask me again. She resumed walking, looking away sadly. Tulip and Bright silently trailed 10 feet behind her, feeling bad for accusing her of keeping secrets and for revealing something so upsetting to her about herself. She must be wondering why no one had ever told her. Gitana suddenly turned around. I need to find water and some fruits and vegetables. Sweets aren't healthy for me like they are for you guys. Tulip and Bright nodded eagerly, and at the same time, although they had no idea why sweets were not good for Gitana, they had no desire to question her on her food requirements. After finding a carrot, a couple apples, and fresh spring water, the three continued to march largely in silence for another 2.5 hours before coming upon an unexpected sight. A sandy beach and crystal blue waters gleamed in the distance. They had not expected to reach the sea until afternoon of the next day at the earliest. It made sense, though. Had Gitana not turned into a dragon, they could have spent at least a day getting through the mountains. Gitana's fire-breathing episode had knocked several hours off their travel time. None of them had thought of that because they had been angry, but here they were, already looking at the Owenly Sea. At that moment, they all forgot how upset they had been. Besides their excitement about getting close to their destination, they found the sea captivating. Tulip and Bright had never seen its beauty in person. All three ran to the beach at once, then to the water's edge. Because every inch of them was sticky with gumdrop goo, they jumped into the sea with their clothes and even their shoes on. They took the best bath they could as Bright moaned that his skin still felt sticky. In response, Tulip and Gitana splashed him repeatedly until he was begging them, Okay, I'm good. Stop already. Then proceeded to return the favor to them. Feeling braver, the three went in a little deeper and let the waves take them up and down like a teeter-totter. When it looked like one of them was getting into deeper water, the other two would grab their legs and pull them toward the shore as they floated face up on the water. They played like this for an hour. This was the most fun Gitana had had in a long time. Sopping wet, they went back to the beach to clean off their packs and dry off. They lay down in the towels they had packed, hoping the sun would dry them before too long. Some time later, Gitana woke up to see the light fading. It was almost dark, so she woke Tulip and Bright. Hey guys, wake up. We need to either find a boat or make camp before it gets dark. The three decided to camp for the night. Working together, they had the tent up and a fire going within a half hour. Bright pulled out more cake from his pack for dinner. Gitana's stomach churned just looking at it. She took out some cheese, bread, and the second apple. The wholesome food, warm fire, and crisp ocean air soothed her. After dinner, they got into their sleeping bags, vowing to wake early. Gitana was grateful for her exhaustion, otherwise she would have found it hard to sleep given the revelations of the day. She did not have the energy to think about what this new information meant about her, her family, and her life going forward. The sun was high when she woke. Tulip and Bright had already packed everything but her sleeping bag. She sat up straight. Why didn't you guys wake me up? We thought you needed your sleep, Tulip squeezed Gitana's arm kindly. Gitana got up and rolled her sleeping bag. Bright handed her razzle cherries and the rest of the cheese. Sorry we don't have any pie left. Gitana was relieved. No, this is great. She hoped they could all enjoy a real meal once they arrived in Oser. Let's get this put away. Tulip took Gitana's sleeping bag, stuffing it into her own pack. Gitana was touched by her friends' kind treatment. They clearly felt sorry about yesterday. So here's the plan. Tulip was back in big sister mode. I talked to a boat captain at that lighthouse over there. Tulip pointed to a structure about a half-mile away. Bright and I paid the captain to get us across, but we don't have much money left. We're also getting low on food, so we'll have to travel quickly once back on land. Gitana nodded. The three set off to the boat ramp. Gitana was surprised to see the boat captain looked like a kid of 16 or 17 with pretty long black hair, dark eyes, and a look of intense concentration on her face. She was expecting an adult, preferably someone middle-aged with years of experience captaining a boat. Tulip saw Gitana's skeptical look and explained the teen's boat was the only boat they could afford. "She looks responsible, don't you think?" Tulip whispered to Gitana, unsure of her own assessment. "Hi, I'm Captain Jocelyn Rayome." The captain stopped her work to shake Gitana's hand and give them each life vests before turning back to her work. Gitana had to agree with Tulip. There was something about her that seemed older than her years. "Yes, actually, she seems pretty mature and likable too. We don't have much choice anyway, right?" Tulip nodded. "Then let's just go." Gitana was eager to be on their way. They were on the open sea within minutes. Gitana loved the smell of the sea and the feel of the crisp, clean air on her face. She smiled as the wind whipped her hair. Bright and Tulip, however, were not doing so well. Both found the rocking of the boat nauseating. "Close your eyes," instructed Captain Jocelyn. "What's making you sick is the mismatch between what your body is feeling and what your eyes are seeing." Both complied and felt better. They continued to keep their eyes closed and soon fell asleep. Gitana threw their sleeping bags over them, then turned her attention back to the sea. Soon her thoughts turned to yesterday's news. She tried to remember all the circumstances in which she had lost chunks of time, not remembering how she got from one place to another, how her hand got injured, or even where she had been for a day. She searched her brain for any memory of it whatsoever and found nothing. But something about the sea nagged at her mind a bit. Had something strange happened when she and her family last visited the sea? There was definitely some piece of time she could not remember. She had tried to consider Bright and Tulip had told her the truth. Perhaps she had saved them by melting the Gummy Mountains. How else could they have melted? A strange sound interrupted her thoughts. "What is that?" Gitana wondered aloud. She walked over to Captain Jocelyn, who looked intensely around the perimeter of the boat. "Please wake your friends up and tell them to put seatbelts on. Put yours on too." "But what is that?" Gitana asked as the sound grew louder. It was a nice sound, almost like singing. Actually, Gitana thought as she listened a few seconds more, it was mesmerizing. "Get in your seat now!" Captain Jocelyn ordered. She meant business. Gitana obediently woke her friends and got them in their seatbelts. "That's so beautiful," Tulip enthused. "Dreamy," was Bright's reply. Gitana wondered why such a lovely sound had Captain Jocelyn looking so worried. The captain tied herself to the ship's steering wheel and doubled their speed. "Don't worry," Captain Jocelyn yelled. "We'll be out of this momentarily." Gitana looked all around them, wondering what this was. She did not have to wonder for long. 3 dull thuds hit the deck. Gitana looked up to see 3 young women slash fish on the deck brandishing swords. Now what? Gitana had already gone through the invasion of her home, a free fall to a foreign land, being swallowed up by gummy mountains, malnourishment, a shocking revelation about herself, and now this? Mermaid pirates? She was mad and decided she was not getting off the boat, no matter what. "No way. I've had enough." Gitana looked the lead pirate dead in the eye. "This is not happening today." Captain Jocelyn looked confused and very concerned. "Excuse me, little miss," she whispered to Gitana. She glanced nervously at the pirates. This is not the time to get sassy. But Bright and Tulip held a new respect for Gitana. Her courage was admirable. They also saw a familiar spark in her eyes. Gitana was going to go dragon on them, and the malicious mermaids would get exactly what they deserved. The pirates laughed. "Oh, this is happening today. You either get off this boat on your own or we'll throw you off." "No," Gitana bellowed. "We are not leaving. You leave now or you're going to find yourself at the top of a gummy mountain." Something burned inside her. There was no time like now to summon her supposed dragon powers. She concentrated mightily. willed herself to change, and ran at them fiercely, arms out, ready to sprout wings. Ah! 5 minutes later, Gitana, her friends, and Captain Jocelyn found themselves bobbing up and down in the waves the boat left as it cruised off with the 3 mermaids on board. They were left in the middle of the sea with nothing but the clothes, backpacks, and life preservers they were wearing. Gitana hoped the map tucked into her clothing would survive this ordeal. "I'm sorry, guys." She hung her head, embarrassed by her bravado and inability to step up and save them. "I don't know what you were trying to do," sighed Captain Jocelyn, "but we were going to end up stranding in the water one way or another. We just have to hope the Coast Guard or the Navy finds us before we get too cold and dehydrated." Captain Jocelyn could not understand how she had failed them, Gitana knew, but Bright and Tulip knew very well. Avoiding eye contact with them, Gitana whispered, "I'm sorry I let you down, guys." "No way," said Tulip emphatically. "Captain Jocelyn is right. This isn't your fault." Bright, who was floating next to Gitana, whispered, "You just found out about you-know-what. How would you know how to change on demand? You probably need some training for that." Tulip tried to hush Bright before Captain Jocelyn caught on, but she looked over to see the captain was busy taking something out of her life jacket. "Fortunately, I managed to smuggle a couple emergency flares." The captain smiled. "I'll set one off now and another after dark if no one comes to us before then." Tulip and Bright looked up hopefully while Gitana closed her eyes, concentrating all her will in the hope of flying them all safely to shore. 2 hours later, her concentration weakened. She was getting colder by the moment. They had all been shivering for the past hour and become sleepy. Captain Jocelyn told them to fight sleep as hard as they could or they might give in to the cold and die of hypothermia within hours, but even the captain was fading fast. "Become a dragon. Become a dragon," Gitana chanted to herself over and over, but nothing was happening. She was so tired. Tulip saw Gitana on the verge of sleep and shook her, but her eyelids just kept growing heavier and heavier until she could resist no more. Tulip, Bright, and the captain fell asleep. "Ahoy there! Ahoy!" A deep masculine voice was calling through the darkness. Gitana opened her eyes. "Ahoy!" the friendly voice sang out. Gitana tried to call out and wave, but her whole body felt paralyzed from the cold. A beam of light shone in the distance and steadily grew larger until it shone on Gitana, her friends, and Captain Jocelyn. The light was coming from a small boat, although it was too dark to see details. Something large and very heavy dropped into the water. As soon as she saw it quickly approaching, she realized what had splashed into the water was not something, but rather someone. "Hello there," greeted the voice that had been calling them before getting to work. He took Bright, nuzzling his head underneath Bright's, then rolled him up and onto his back. Their savior then raced back to his boat, Bright in tow. More large figures came to get Gitana, Tulip, and Captain Jocelyn until they were all sitting safely on the rescuer's boat, huddled together for warmth. A large, rather handsome, and serious-looking gentleman walked toward them, or rather plopped toward them. Standing before them was a proud and distinguished, but also cute and cuddly-looking harbor seal. He ordered his subordinate seals to retrieve blankets and water to rehydrate them. "Admiral Seal E. Fish of the Oster Navy SEALs at your service, but you can just call me Admiral Seal." He clapped his back flippers together, head held high. Captain Jocelyn struggled to her feet, saluting the Admiral. Gitana, Bright, and Tulip tried to follow her, but their time in the frigid water had left them too weak. Admiral Seal smiled kindly. "Let's get you kids warmed up. Then we'll find your boat and the miscreant mer pirates who stole it."